Hello, Nasdaq followers, and welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. My name is Leanne Alfaro, and we're coming to you live from the Pig Identity Identify Conference. So here we are hearing from real enterprise talk about identity intelligence as well as managing identity across multi-cloud platforms, which is very prevalent right now. So joining us to talk about it a little bit more is Andrew Zager, who's Director of Identity and Access Management over at Merck. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about digital transformation. We're hearing a little more and more about this as companies take the opportunity to, improve the customer experience or expand into new markets, improve the ecosystem. What does it mean to you, and what does it mean to Merck to have that digital transformation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're very much focused on digital transformation at Merck. From a healthcare perspective, we have many different kinds of customers, but one of our primary customers are the physicians who do the prescribing of medicine. And we're shifting more and more into providing digital marketing and digital information straight to the doctor through websites, iPhone, iPad apps. So from an identity perspective, from a doctor who's trying to find information, they want to make sure they can get in very quickly, get the information they're looking for, without having to register usernames and passwords and having IDs and tokens. And for doctors specifically, they're working with multiple pharmaceutical companies and health insurers and all different places. So understanding usernames and passwords and all of those things for many different companies has become a huge barrier for pharmaceuticals and other healthcare organizations from getting that information directly to doctors to help improve patients and their lives. So from a digital transformation perspective, and an identity perspective, we have to make that user experience very simple, very straightforward, but at the same time very secure. So not having a wide open, go get as much information as you want kind of situation, as well as protecting their own identities.
Absolutely. And especially the healthcare industry has to deal with tremendous amounts of data. I mean, there's been empires built out of this business.
Exactly, that's right. And there's plenty of people who are looking to do malicious things such as post incorrect data.
Absolutely.
Or information that is counterintuitive to what you want. There's many different ways for people to get information about our drugs and our products, but we want to make sure they're coming to that source and making sure that they're really using us as a trusted partner and advisor on the products that we develop and make.
Now, I'd like to talk about a term that perhaps the layman or some people watching on Facebook Live might not have heard about, and that is Global Authentication Authority. So what does it mean to your organization? What does it mean in general?
For my organization, it means we need to be able to build solutions that many different applications, whether it's a web-based application, whether it's an iPhone, whether you're coming from a computer, is having a seamless one entry into the products that we support. Merck relies on many different partners to do work with us. They could be educational institutions, they even could be competitors that we're co-marketing products with. So from an authentication perspective, what we're saying is we need, as a user of our tools or of our products and our information, having just one way to get in there without having, as I said earlier, to having multiple different usernames and passwords or apps on your phone. So a global authentication profile that we're doing is really more of a behind the scenes approach where we are putting and layering in technology that's front-ending behind all of these other different applications. It should be seamless to the everyday user. Forget the nuts and bolts from the technology side. If you're a person logging into something, you want to have a consistent experience, whether the back end of it is sitting at Merck, at another pharma, could be in a cloud somewhere, it could be a website. We have to find a way to make that very seamless and a consistent experience. We've actually had people come to us and say, if you make this any harder, we're not going to work with you anymore. So it's that kind of table stakes. It's very important to make it a very seamless and uneventful experience. We really don't want people to think about how am I going to get the data. We want people to think about the data itself or what they're trying to access.
Right, and this is a recurring theme that we keep hearing here at Identify 2018, which is like, we want to help our customers be able to just deal with their job, not think about how they're going to get to the data that they need for their job.
If you think about your bank account, right? If you don't, you don't want to have to go through a crazy amount of hoops just to be able to check your bank account balance.
Right.
Same thing on a healthcare. You might want to be able to look up your insurance, or you want to look at the status of a particular claim, or you just may want to get product information. You don't want to have to spend a lot of time to get there, and you could, if you do the wrong thing, scare people off or just make it even so confusing that people give up, and that's, in today's age with so much information, that's not where we want to be.
Right. Now, identity security is definitely in the media nowadays. There's been plenty of news around breaches, and at the center of this seems to be the security around APIs.
That's right.
So how can companies better think about strategies to secure, kind of have a secure plan, secure APIs?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one. I think one of the things that we've tried to look at is actually two major areas. One is a lot of problems with reuse of code and putting out information that taking code from a standard place and just saying, great, this is easy to use, so we'll just plug it into ours without truly vetting it. Organizations should have an API and an application security organization that's dedicated to just making sure that there are checkpoints so that the code that you're using and the stuff that you're putting out for your customers are vetted out completely, because there's a lot of copy-paste kind of API and reuse, and many times they could be dangerous type of things. The one that I think is even more important is the kind of access that these APIs are using. We have a very large focus at Merck around privileged access management. So many APIs leverage very high level or sensitive accounts, but people aren't paying attention to the security around those accounts, and hackers are finding those right away and can just use that as an entryway right into your organization. So application security, checking your code, privileged account management are the biggest recommendations that I could think of that would help at least get your arms around some of the security when it comes to APIs.
Fantastic. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on Merck, keeping an eye out for you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Nasdaq followers, stay tuned. We have more coverage coming to you live right here from Ping Identity's Identify Conference.